Hello, everyone. We're going to
Hi.
go ahead and
So,
welcome to the Fall 2020 Student Government Association of Lake Worth Campus Town Hall. My name is Michelle Aldis. I'm the Interclub Council Liaison for SGA and the moderator of today's event. Thank you all for joining us today in the virtual format to continue the tradition and address the student body's needs at this time. I would like to give a warm welcome to Dr. Ava Parker, Palm Beach State College president, who is our keynote speaker. Along and joining her today are Townhall, our very important and different people. We have Dr. Peter Barnabas, Lake Worth Provost, Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Roy Vargas. We also have Dean of Student Development, Kathleen Karen McCoy, Dean of Student Services, Dr. Van Williams, Career Center Manager, David Jenks, Security and Risk Management Director, Dr. Delsa Bush, Facilities Director, Robert Priolo, and Auxiliary Service Manager, Jessica Bender. We wanted to thank you today for participating in today's event, and we appreciate your dedication to our students. This event today is being hosted by the Lake Worth Campus Student Government Association, also known as SGA. For those that are not familiar with SGA, SGA consists of 3 branches, 2 executive boards, both executive and legislative, and a Senate, which is also a judicial board. We're part of countless discussions regarding academic programs, curriculum, student activities, and finding ways we can help the college be the best it can be to service our student body and staff. I would like to go ahead and now introduce our student government president, Rafael Gutierrez. I would like to go ahead and give you the mic to further introduce us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rafael Gutierrez, as Michelle said. I am the president of the Lake Worth Student Government Association, or just SGA, and welcome to this year's President's Town Hall. Every year, SGA works with administration to have a forum like this one here for students to hear and chat directly with President of Palm Beach State College here, which is President Parker, and deans and other head administrators here at the college. This year's town hall would, of course, not be possible without our SGA Town Hall Committee, which is chaired by Michelle Aldis, who will be moderating this forum, of course, and SGA Vice President Ariel Reda, and to the numerous students who have reached out to us about their thoughts and concerns with regard to the topics of discussion today. And thank you to President Parker and the invited panelists for taking time out of a Monday afternoon to be here. We're really looking forward to an enlightening discussion on the status of Palm Beach State College, where we are with how the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting all of us, and what we can do to make sure that each semester of this virtual learning environment is better than the last one. And before we begin our discussions today, of course, per tradition, I would like to do a roll call of my executive board, just calling out the positions and names. We have Vice President Ariel Reda. We have our Secretary, Jose Alvarez. We have Chief Justice Jonathan Santos. We have our Legislative Liaison, John Pauly. We have our Interclub Council Liaison, Michelle Aldis, and moderating. We have our Historian, Winnie Kajust. And of course, we have our Social Media Executive, Lucas Hendrick. And with that, I will give the mic back over to you, Michelle.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone again for being here. The purpose of the town hall is to enable the administration to talk to the students about their concerns and possibilities for the college to meet the learning needs of our students this coming semester. We now kindly ask that you keep your microphones on mute unless you're part of the panel. The chat will be saved and all questions will be addressed just in case we run short on time. Your opinions and your suggestions matter to us, so know that we as SGA will make sure that your questions are answered. Our key discussion points today are COVID-19 and return to campus, student services, and last but not least, an open chat forum. During the open chat forum, we'll try the best to address all the questions from the students that are addressed in the chat. All of your concerns and questions are important, and if we do not get to all of them, we'll be emailing the panel to further address your concerns. COVID-19 and return to campus will address current safety measures in place, safety plans for when students return, such as hybrid classes, anticipated date of return, Under student services, we'll be addressing faculty and engagement, financial aid and scholarship, advising registration, and career services. First topic of this town hall is COVID-19 and the return to campus. We all know that Palm Beach State College's main concern at this time is keeping students, faculty, and staff safe during this pandemic. This subject is not easy to tackle, and we know it's been a very hard year. Some of these questions may be directed to different people on the panel, in addition to President Parker. We also want to inform everybody that Bob Priolo is also the leader of the Return to Campus Task Force, and we are very thankful for your dedication and diligence in the matter. We will go ahead and start with the question will be directed now to President Parker. What facilities will be open next semester, and what current safety measures will be in place to reduce contamination, such as surface cleaning, vending machines, labs, food courts, and restrooms?
Michelle, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you all this afternoon. And Raphael, thank you so much for your leadership as the president of the Student Government Association on Lake Worth campus. I am excited about the opportunity to have the dialogue. I miss seeing you guys on campus. I just miss the energy that you give, when you're here in person. And I'm so happy to see that you're safe. That's the one good thing about the form that we're in, but it doesn't mean that I don't miss just the up close contact that I look forward to us having in the future. So when we talk about facilities being open, the one thing I want to say to you is that really the college never closed. So back in the spring when we decided to go remote, certainly because we didn't have as many students on campus, certain things were, certain buildings and certain campuses may have closed down for a while, but we never stopped providing services. And so I want to make sure that when we talk about this, please know that we were always open, always on, always ready to support. It's just that, it seems safer, particularly when the whole state was on lockdown, for everyone to, for the most part, start to work from home. But I can tell you most of the facilities, they were here every day. They were here, really preparing for when we might come back. They were here making sure that we maintained the campus, and they were ever present. Several members of Dr. Bush's security team, they were always here as necessary to help, ensure that our facilities remain safe. And then finally, there were also certain administrators who continued to come into the office every day. I can tell you that during this time, I pretty much continued to work. I thought it was always safe to me to be on campus. And so I would come in almost every day because I thought that was the safest environment for me to be in. Fast forward, then what we did was we had to find a way to bring our students back for some of our face-to-face courses that didn't transition to remote. So several workforce programs actually returned in the summer so that we can get those students through who were not able to complete their programs remotely. And then as the fall semester started, we brought even more classes back in order to ensure that we could remain open, because students needed to complete, or it is that our community needed our graduates in order to meet the needs that we have here in Palm Beach County. So please know that we do have face-to-face courses now. The plan, as we took a survey of students, and about 50% of students like remote, and about 50% of the students seem to want to come back to face-to-face. So our plan for spring is to continue to offer several remote sections, but also to offer some face-to-face sections on each campus so that students who are interested in returning to face-to-face at least will have some options to avail themselves of. That we have as an institution is that because most of our classes are really small, our classrooms are small, it's difficult for us to provide social distancing in the classrooms that we have available. Mind you, those small classrooms are by design because we thought it was important that we were able to kind of work closely with our students so we could attend to their academic and emotional needs. It's just that now that the CDC guidelines requires us to separate out, it's difficult for us to do that. So I just want you to know that we are planning to bring more students back in the spring. That as you're registering for spring, please note you can check the classes to see what may possibly be available in person. if that's something that you're interested in doing, it will be there for you. We also have several lab classes that are also going to be offered face-to-face. When it comes to what we are doing, and what I should say to you is that I don't know yet what might happen with like with vending or food courts and that kind of thing. So I can tell you that when more staff came back to campus at Lake Worth, we also, Dunkin' Donuts also came back, but then they weren't getting as much traffic as they hoped. And so I'm not so sure that they're even still with us. I know that they're planning to move in the direction of having to stop the service just because they haven't gotten the traffic that they needed to keep it open. So know that it's difficult to provide food services and direct hot things when when the census is down on the actual campuses. I know that and Peter, I think that Bob is on the line with us, and maybe Bob can talk about what's happening with cleaning and restrooms, and if not, Peter, maybe as provost, you can speak to how we're handling it, but I'm not sure who else may be with us to respond more specifically to the questions regarding cleaning.
Bob is on the phone, so he can certainly respond on behalf of facilities. Bob?
Yes, and
Thank you.
thank you all. And Michelle, thanks for the intro. I will share too that Chief Bush and Rachel Bonlaren, along with myself, have worked hard on this return to campus plan. So it's kind of a triumvirate, I guess, who's been working on it. And we are working on a update of it even right now from what we've learned. But as everybody's been sharing, the good news is Lake Worth's been open and we've learned a lot from having that open. So both in public safety, dental hygiene is a good one too in the dental health building, because they started in June where they needed to finish a cohort. And so we did a lot of the preparation there, whether it's the plexiglass barriers, more sanitizers, the air ventilation, where we've done enhancements and added some enhanced filtration. And even on our website, the facilities website, we've tried to add a link now where you could see which buildings are open, what are the hours, and then what enhanced filtration are there too. But this is from working closely together with administration and with students. And actually in classes, what we've learned on the health sciences, that they have partnered with us. We've provided a lot of the disinfecting material and they're doing it themselves. So when they come in, you wonder, my big word right now is validation. We say we're doing it. Well, how do you know if we're doing it? And there's nothing like knowing your area is disinfected if you do it. So a lot of the students come in saying, wow, we want to be able to wipe down our work surface. We know it's been done. So we're really working towards that, making sure we have enough disinfectant wipes and all of that. And we've also learned it's a learning process. So as you come in, you're going to have ideas and we're going to listen to them and we're going to adjust things. Every month we've adjusted our custodial staff. So as things have opened up, we've added both what we call day porters. So restrooms are cleaned a minimum of 3 times during the day. And there's resources where if you go in and you see something's not right, where you'll be able to contact your campus manager and get that word out, and we respond quickly. So at all the high touch points, we have custodians going through, and our goal is elevator buttons and door handles are done a minimum of 3 times during the day, and then a complete cleaning by the evening crew.
Thank you very much, President Parker and Bob Priolo. We really appreciate your feedback on this issue. And thank you for being diligent along with all the others part of the team, making us safe. So the next but not least is we have been informed that spring 2020 will start off virtual. Something that we have kind of figured out is that it's a well-known fact that many students find that the virtual experience is kind of been hard to handle. Many students have actually suggested if there could be a hybrid option. This would mean that the school would have classes where some students who feel comfortable when they come back on campus will be physically in class, while those who cannot will do it virtually, but still interact with each other. Is this a possibility?
Would you like me to answer that first, or I guess I want to make sure that you're directing this to me?
Whatever, President Parker, it's whoever is best.
So I'll start, and then I'm going to ask Dr. Vargas and Dr. Barbados to step in. So I can tell you that we're looking at lots of options, because you're right. As I mentioned earlier, the survey that we received from students, the responses from the survey indicated that 50% like it and 50% would prefer to meet, 50% like being remote, 50% would prefer meeting face to face. And so we thought that if we could find ways to offer more in-person options, that it would be the best way to meet the needs of our students. And Dr. Vargas can talk to you about the kinds of things that they've come up with in order to meet the needs of students. And also Dr. Barbados may also be ready or available to chime in. Can you talk to her about the spring schedule?
Absolutely. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and share a little bit of the perspective from outside campus. I'm the dean of Boca Raton campus. I know Lake Worth is the largest campus, but I can guarantee you that the administration, President Parker, and the team has been ensuring that the same protocols of safety and clean and regulations are in every single campus, not only on Lake Worth, because for us, the most important thing is our students and the student safety, as well as faculty and staff. That's our first priority since we started with this pandemic, and we just want everybody to be safe. And that's why this is unprecedented situations. You know, it was a lot of work moving or transitioning from face-to-face to remote teaching. It was a big effort, not only for us as administrators to organize the logistics, but also to train individuals to help to make this a smooth transition. Faculty did a tremendous amount of work on moving into this direction and offering the classes as well. We've been considering different type of modalities for different teaching situations. You know, we have the fully online classes that we have the whole e-learning department supporting them as well. We have the hybrid modalities, as you are aware and you are referring to. And then during the pandemic, we start with this new modality of remote teaching or remote delivering. Things that we have done is for the spring semester, for instance, we are identifying larger rooms where we can bring full classes with a social distance. We're not going to have 36 students in a small classroom because that's not following the protocols established. But what we're looking at is identifying larger classrooms where we can bring faculty and the students in a very safe manner. There are schedules, and then I encourage every single student now to look at the face-to-face classes that we offer in the 5 different campuses. We are scheduling face-to-face courses, and please enroll to those classes. We have noticed that it's not this enrollment at this particular time is not very strong, but we are encouraging students to look for those opportunities as well. Hybrid classes is one of the combinations of those offerings, where yes, the students can be one part online and one part they come to the campus face to face. The labs, for instance, we are experiencing different ways of modalities. For example, we're splitting the labs into different classrooms if the facilities allow it. Or in the Boca campus, we are exploring this interesting modality that some of the classes or the labs are online, but we're bringing the students at least 6 times during the semester where they can have that face-to-face hands-on experience. And that is very positive. Like tonight, we have our organic chemistry labs coming. Students are coming tonight and tomorrow, and then they're doing that part of the class, to cover the curriculums and the requirements of the courses. Did I answer your question, Michelle?
Thank you, Dr. Vargas.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yes,
And thank you,
absolutely.
Dr. Parker. I appreciate it as well. We
Michelle,
just
can I
want to
ask
hear all the suggestions.
Michelle, a quick question? So again, we put that on the schedule. There's 112 classes that are in person being offered at this point for the spring. Have the students on the call, have you seen them? Because the notes different. Each of the classes have different notes. So if it's a truly distance learning class, it'll reflect that. If it's a remote instruction, synchronous class, asynchronous, then that will be denoted. And then we also have a note for those classes that are face-to-face or hybrid. Have the students seen that? Because I want to make sure that if there's something that I can do differently in order for that to be communicated more clearly, I'm very open to the idea.
Well, we can definitely address it to our student body as well, but this question was addressed about bringing both together, both the virtual and the in-person. Reason being is that a lot of the departments, we've gotten to know our peers. So we want to keep continuing that relationship, and not all our peers are in the healthiest manner, or some are autoimmune compromised. So we just want to make sure that those relationships that we've built with our peers continue as well. And also with our professors too.
Yeah.
So let me know, SGA, if there's something that I can do from my office in order to make sure that that's communicated effectively for the student. I know that you get tired of getting emails from me, because sometimes I hear from some students who say, stop it. But if there's a different way that we can get that information out, I truly appreciate it.
I would definitely ask for suggestions from our student body. Thank you very much, Dr. Vargas.
Sure.
Michelle, I just want to say also that there are some subjects that are very popular right now in a face-to-face matter, because the students have the need maybe for graduation or complete their courses, their course load. For example, anatomy and physiology, we open a couple sections, and then, right now we have full sections. But there are some areas, English 1101, which surprisingly we thought that is going to be a really popular course face-to-face. Enrollment is slowly increasing. But if you hear any kind of a request from students on courses or subjects specifically that they will like to see in a face-to-face modality, please share that with that. I know you have a direct channel with Dr. Barbados, and then he will definitely work with us. We try to work very closely, academics and student services, to offer the best to our students and be very proactive on those offerings as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We appreciate your opinions and your concerns here. We would just want to make sure that all our student body is happy, and we also want student enrollment to go back up. We know these are some weird times. Our next important topic is actually about student services, and first up is faculty and student engagement. Concerns have been received repeatedly from our peers that quality of instruction in many instances has seen a decline since we went virtual. SGA gave the student body multiple opportunities to voice their concerns in Senate board meetings and board meetings and ICC club meetings, and even on social media. So SGA has summarized some of the repeated concerns in quotes from several of the students. First quote we had, or embodies a lot of the opinions: adding busy work doesn't mean that students are better engaged. It just makes it harder to keep up with the classes. This came from a PTK member. Second quote is, we still pay for courses with laboratories, but today the laboratories are not as nearly as educational as they used to be. But there has not been no fee reductions. That came from a nursing student. Third quote was, I'm currently taking 4 courses. 2 are running very well, and the professor is committed. 2, I wish I could get my money back. Logging in for 5 minutes just to get attendance is not professional. If we as students had done this in in-person sessions, we could have lost financial support, while the professor has no consequences. that came from an SGA board member and student. And then last but not least is a concerned student regarding our professors. I feel like no one asked faculty that if they have the proper training in the technology or materials to go virtual because some professors are overwhelmed and lost. Both students that did voice their concerns, one's from pre-med and the other one is a graphic design student. So after hearing quotes from students, we would love to hear feedback on how these issues could be solved. President Parker.
Sure, I'd like to start, and I look forward to the other folks on the line chiming in. Here's the first thing I'd say to you, and if this is something that you are currently experiencing, and or if it's something that your colleagues are experiencing, if you feel like your faculty member is, your instructor, excuse me, is not living up to their responsibility in the class, that is the person who says that we're just logging on for attendance and dropping off, then that's something that needs to be addressed. And I'm going to ask if the student would reach out to the team. That is the only way that, that we know that it's something that we should look into. I don't want you to think that, that administrators kind of have this thing where they zoom in to all the classes just to kind of figure out what's going on. That is not what happens. So that's why we have to rely upon students. Students should always go to their associate dean if they have any questions about what is happening within the classroom, particularly if you feel like you're not getting your money's worth, or you don't feel like you're getting the level of instruction that you're entitled to as one of our students. That is something that we take very seriously, but we cannot actually, ensure that the faculty member is living up to his responsibility unless you let us know. So that is the first thing I'd say to you. And the second thing I'd say, and then I'll stop and let Roy and or Peter or anyone else chime in. The second thing I'd say is that sure, we were not expecting that everyone would have to go virtual so quickly. And I believe that the level of engagement or level of experience that faculty members have with remote teaching and remote learning varies, because of some faculty members who have been teaching online for a long time. So this transition wasn't much, with others who said they would never do it. So therefore they had never taken the necessary training to do it. But what I'd say to you is that, because we were aware of this variance, when we took the time that the folks in e-learning, they took the time to actually work with faculty to teach them, to respond to their concerns, to show them how this should be done. I can tell you that we use some of our CARES funding to provide additional training for faculty so that they would understand how they could expand their pedagogy in a manner in which they were reaching you. So we did invest in some training for faculty members. But again, if it turns out that there's a faculty member who is not as proficient as maybe you have examined and or experienced in some of your other courses, then that is the kind of thing that you need to reach out to your associate dean and let them know so we can provide faculty that additional support. And I'm going to stop there. I'm going to open it up to Dr. Vargas to see if you have anything that you might want to comment on as it relates to that issue.
Absolutely. I think, this transition has been difficult for many. And like that President Parker indicated, that there were some faculty that they were more proficient on technology, on the tools that we have and we offer as an institution. There were also faculty that they didn't have that skill, because, yesterday I was talking to Friday with one of my faculty members, and she is like one of our best, but she said, I'm struggling because I love teaching face-to-face. I love the contact with my students. She wasn't very prepared for the online environment or moving remotely or virtually, but, it's like there are struggles. But, I can guarantee you that we are doing the best we can to train those individuals. We have faculties mentoring faculty during this transition, helping them with the technology, the skills, helping them with, even the way that they deliver or take attendance or keep the engagement in the classroom. Similar to students that there are students that are very proficient in technology, and for them the transition wasn't that difficult. you know, it has been a lot of work from both sides. But you know, like it was mentioned, I always, if there is a concern that a faculty is not delivering, maybe not because of the lack of technology, but other issues, you know, there is a protocol that we always follow. Please contact the associate dean, the department chair, or the dean. When I receive some of the complaints from students, I forward those because I like to follow protocol. I follow those concerns directly to the direct supervisor of my instructor or faculty to address those issues. And then we have ways and mechanisms to see if the faculty is really delivering, you know, the subject in a proper way. You know, we have teaching observations. Associate deans or department chairs, they can go into the Blackboard site and see how the class is being delivered. You know, some kind of a controls in order to ensure that we maintain the quality of education, that we are delivering what we promise to our students, and that's what we're trying to do, you know, working hard. But we need collaboration. We need to work together in this, especially in these difficult situations where faculty, staff, and students can collaborate and move things forward, and hopefully coming back into some kind of a normality. You know, it's not the normal situations that we are familiar with. Everything is different, but I think that we work together, we can definitely move things forward.
Appreciate it, Dr. Vargas, and appreciate it, Dr. Parker. One thing you did mention, and I want to make certain, is that if the concern is voiced either by email, that remains anonymous for the student's behalf. That's something that we are concerned about as well. Okay, and then I'll move on. Our next topic is financial
Michelle,
aid
I
and
didn't get it
scholarships.
because you sounds a little. Can you repeat, please?
Sure. With the last comment, I stated we just want to make sure that the student's privacy is acknowledged. So if those comments are shared with you, that they do remain private through the transition, and making sure that their concerns are being heard.
Absolutely, absolutely. And here I think that, you know, this feedback is very important to us because it's a learning curve. We've been trying to make things better for the students experience, providing, you know, the tools that you need, because at the end of the day, what we want is for you to graduate, finish, you know, your programs, graduate, and then continue to your journey. But we're trying to support as much as we can, and that's what we're looking for.
And Michelle, if I might be able to add what President Parker and also Dr. Vargas mentioned, if you don't tell us, we don't always know. We teach a lot of sections, and we are over 5 different campuses, and so it's very critical that the student feels comfortable enough. You can come to me as your advocate, as a student affairs VP, and I will protect you. But what I need to know in order to improve it. If I don't hear about it, I'm not going to know and think that things are fine. So if there's anything that's happening in the classroom, we have a buds person. I think Kathy Karen McCoy is on the phone. She serves as our student buds person. Your campus dean, in this case, it would be Van Williams, is also another strong advocate, as well as I am. So please make sure that you talk to somebody, guys, if you feel that the class is not what you need.
And if I can say something else, is the first step is contact your instructor. Try to communicate with the instructor. That is the first step. 95% of the situations you solve it when you go and talk to your instructor. And I always say to the student, did you call the instructor? Oh, well, I emailed him. No. Did you talk to the instructor, you know, via phone? Do you have a conversation? Because sometimes, a lot of time, you know, we send emails, but the communication maybe is not clear, or we're not addressing those situations clearly. And, you know, could be a miscommunication from both sides. And, you know, my recommendation is contact the instructor first. Now, if you in solving issues. Of course, we are here to support you. Of course, we're gonna keep you private because we want to defend you and maintain um, the integrity of the process. I think it's important to maintain the integrity of the process as well.
And we also want to
Before we
address the
move,
fact, go ahead.
I apologize. This is Kathy Karen McCoy. I'm the Dean of Student Development. And I just wanted to mention, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to clarify any questions you may have today. But I did want to mention that as the ombudsperson, I've had a few cases that have come to me from students who were experiencing issues with their instructor. And so part of, as being the ombudsperson, confidentiality is one of the hallmarks or one of the values very much supported by the profession of the ombuds. And so I do want you to know that, within my office, as the ombudsperson, your confidentiality is important, as well as, pointing you to several alternative ways to work through those issues. And one of those ways to work through it, as Dr. Vargas mentioned, is, making sure that you understand that, part of this process includes working with your instructor, reaching out to them, talking with them, and making sure that that's one of the steps that you can use as a student to resolve your issues. So, definitely reach out to me if you have any issues as well.
Thank you, Dr. Karen McCoy. I do want to mention also, there are a lot of positive comments, even in the chat right now as we're moderating, that there are professors that have done the opposite, have gone above and beyond. So that I think it's just this transition of this virtual situation. It's not perfect, but we're trying to make sure that both sides are being heard. But thank you very much for addressing everything with us. The next topic that we have on file is financial aid and scholarship. Education, as everybody knows, not something everybody can afford. Financial aid and scholarships are crucial for most students' attendance. Concerns were brought up by students that are related to the CARES Act funding, assistance through job loss and financial hardship, homeless student support or prevention, and the staff appeal process. Currently, financial aid and scholarships are hugely, in our statistics and even on our website, are shown that it's needed to be able to go to school. One thing that we've seen is that the CARES Act funding, the statistics shared on our school website, were truly show how helpful the CARES Act has been with to continue and be provided for the students. Do we know any news about if it's going to be continued to be provided for this next coming year? Do we know any status at this time?
So thank you so much for that question. And certainly we understand the value of being able to support our students normally, but particularly during this time. I'm going to ask Dr. Barbados if he would respond to the concern and certainly direct it to anyone else who may be on the call here.
Sure. So we are very fortunate that we're one of the least expensive schools in the country. And so we're able to do more with less. So if a student can't get full Pell, it still helps them to their bills. Now, sadly, getting Pell is not as easy as it was at one point, but I think now with the new federal administration that we might see some changes. I'm told that they're looking at adding a substantial amount to the Pell Grant for each year. And just a couple of years ago, they added summer Pell, which doesn't discount what you get for fall and spring. So that's made a good, some good inroads. The other thing I want to mention is because we're in this situation, and it really doesn't matter about the pandemic, but because we use prior tax returns for financial aid, and that's again legislated by the feds, if something changes, whereas before your dad or your mom or you were making a good amount of money and you did not qualify for federal financial aid, there's something called professional judgment, whereas if you bring in the documentation to show that your situation, your financial household situation has changed, then we can readjust and submit new paperwork to see what you qualify for. So just because last year your family didn't qualify for financial aid, you might qualify this year. So make sure that you let us know so we can use the most accurate tax information to reflect what's happening currently in your family, because sometimes things can change very drastically, as we know, from one year or next. We do have a couple things here at the college. As you know, we have a Panther Pantry for food insecurities, which, as you know, I send out an email. Most of it's here at Lake Worth, and we're able to get contributions, and we do distribution. I want to say it's every Tuesday. I'm trying to remember exactly the date, but I do send out those emails for
It's
students.
every Wednesday and Friday, Dr.
Wednesday and
Barbosa.
Friday. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
So be sure to be part of that. And it's all done in a very responsible CDC guideline social distancing way. We also have a surf fund that's actually administered through our foundation, whereas if a student can't pay their electric bill this month, or their tire blew, they need to get repairs to their car, you can go through our financial aid office to petition SURF. There's probably some documentation that we need to get from you, but we can do a one-time to help a student out. Now, in terms of CARES, as you know, we were able, because the government gave us a good chunk of change, about $9 million, 9.2 to be exact, for students to disperse. And we actually used all that money. We were very strategic in terms of making sure that students were able to secure the funds that they needed. They were provided for it was a first come, first serve kind of thing. So we were able to distribute a good amount in the spring, because that's when everything hit. And we were all quarantined, where a lot of students weren't able to work because they had to stay home and their jobs closed. We then were able to give some money out in the summer. And that was a shorter amount of a semester, but they still got the $500. And then for the fall, we did 1,000, because we thought that, that the semester was double the time as of the fall, or half of the spring. And that money went quick. So at this point in time, we've dispersed the money. We actually even went into, because what the government did was they gave us 9.2 for the students specifically, and 9.2 to cover the cost of new PPE, for technologies, for those laptop computers that we had to buy for students that didn't have the technology at home, for hotspots, for training that you heard that President Parker and Dr. Vargas spoke about. And so those were monies that the government gave to us to recoup in order for us to be able to do the things that we needed to do during this pandemic. But what we did was, instead of just use that 9.2 million for the college, we actually dipped into that amount to help even more students. But there's no more. So I don't know if we'll see more CARES money coming to the colleges and universities. I haven't heard anything of that. I know that there's a lot of talk, again, federally, about the forgiveness of loans, of student loans. There's also talk of doubling the Pell, and there's also talk of free community college. I don't know exactly what that means. I know that I've spoken to some of my colleagues around the country who actually have this in place for their state. Before everyone gets excited, what they do is usually they help the student who does, it's after you get your Title IV federal financial aid money. So if there's any money that it didn't meet the whole tuition and fees, then the state would come in and pay for that amount. And so that's true. That's really good for schools like in New York, where the tuition is probably double the price of what we pay. The other thing too is that it's limited to 60 credits. You can't drop. So there's a lot of stipulations in that free community college. But again, we'll see in January or February. What's real exciting is that President-elect Biden's wife is a community college English teacher. So she gets us. She understands us. She understands this sector of higher ed. And so we believe that there'll be more attention given to community college students, state college students. I hope that answered your question. It was a long answer for a short question. But...
It did. And we had a comment from actually James Duffy, who's our Vice President of Financial Administration, regarding the CARES Act, stating that it really will depend on the new aid package for college and students, depending on the administration in Washington, D.C. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we can continue to see some support.
Well,
leading
and
from
your
that
legislators,
question,
don't forget, guys, the amount of power that you have as students. Speak of your story and make sure that you contact not just our local legislators, but those in Tallahassee, because they have a lot of influence.
May I add a plug-in as well to Dr. Michelle? I'd like to Yes, I'd like to mention that, we have a counseling center that remained open the whole time since we've been remote. And we have a counselor on staff as well. And we've been doing individual sessions and group sessions. And I know this is a financial aid related conversation, but, with it, you included job losses, homelessness, evictions. Our students are struggling, we know, with a lot of these issues, and we want them to know, and we are doing everything we can to get the word out that there's help available for them. They do not have to experience this struggle on their own. Our counselors are there. We have 5 interns that will make individual appointments with any student that is needing help. And so as you're seeking support for homelessness or anything else, please know that please also talk about the counseling center being there to support them as well in other ways.
Thank you very much, Dr. Karen McCoy.
Hi.
Leading from what Dr. Barbadas explained is the next question I would like to address, which is the SAP or the SAP appeal process. You had stated even something of the sort with income changes and some students losing their jobs, BASA will definitely not reflect the current financial situation that they're in. SAP appeals are known to take a really long time. So how can we facilitate that process?
So you're right. There's about 8,000 appeals every semester, but let's make sure that we're clear as to what this means. SAP is really Standards of Academic Progress, and what happens there is if a student fails a class, there's a return of Title IV money to the government. If a student has taken too many credits, they're allowed to take up to 90 credits for a 60 credit program. If they go beyond that, they have to submit an appeal, or if their GPA falls below it. So there are circumstances where things like that happen. My job hours changed. I had to stop going to school because I had to take care of my siblings who were now being, they were learning remotely in K through 12. And so someone needed to be there to support them. So yes, what we've done is we've actually hired a third-party person to help us, third-party company, to help us to try to see those appeals quickly. My suggestion, my recommendation is you cannot wait. So for example, we're going to be open on December 21st and 22nd. The college officially closes on the 18th of December on a Friday. On the 19th, and we'll talk about that maybe in just a little bit, we plan to host a photo op with President Parker as an opportunity to celebrate those students who graduated in the spring, summer, or fall here at the Duncan Theater. But then that Monday and Tuesday, we're going to be open to be able to help students in the submission of their appeals. We will also be open the first week before classes start. We actually, Academic Affairs worked with us, and they're going to start the semester on Monday, January 7th, which gives us a full week to, I think it's January 7th, either January 7th or January 8th, so we can help students get into their classes. But Michelle and others, my recommendation is you cannot wait till 2 days before the semester starts to get that SAP appeal turned in. So if you even think you're going to have a GPA that's going to fall below a 2.0, or you're going to have to drop some classes or drop all your classes, and there's going to be some return of money, I would go ahead and start filling that form out now and turn it in, because you should have your grades by the 18th of December. Now if there's an appeal that's still out there, it's outstanding. I know they're working on them as quick as possible, but again, I hate to put myself out there, but email me and I will make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to. My financial aid office guys, I'm very proud of them. I know there was a complaint in one of the students' surveys where it said someone called me at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, I got people working until 10 and 11 o'clock at night to try to get our students in, get their classes paid for, get their financial aid package in order to help them to start school. Now, the good news is that we're not going to be under the packaging threat anymore because of the fact that people have been packaged for a year. So the students who are continuing will have their financial aid. But it's always a problem, especially in the months of July and August, for sure. But don't procrastinate. Please, please, please submit now. So this way we can see that as quickly as possible. And if you're having problems, feel free to contact me, Peter Barbadas.
Thank you, Dr. Barbados. And I'm going to pass the mic briefly to our SGA president, Rafael Gutierrez, who wanted to insert a comment here.
Yes, because Dr. Barbados mentioned making sure that we're reaching out to our legislators, not just locally here, but the ones in Tallahassee. And that was part of what got me interested in student government in general, is the fact that we as an SGA worked with the Florida College System Student Government Association, or FISCA for short, to get us up there. And just because we can't physically go to Tallahassee this year, we're still working really hard, our SGA and our legislative liaison, John Polly, to make sure that even if we're voting on specific issues, for example, college affordability and food security, since the pantry was mentioned, that's a top priority at FISCA and with the SGA presidents, and we have all come to an agreement, all of the SGA presidents across Florida, that is something that we feel there should be more support on a legislative level coming from our Florida legislature. So I just want to assure all the students, SGA, and administrators that we're working hard, and Rachel Von Leer knows it because she works with us and attends some of our meetings. We're working really hard to make sure that not just your voices, but directly from us, we can have an input. So that way, it's a way that we can work together to make sure that we can accomplish whatever it is that we need to.
Thank you, President. I wanted to also advise, or actually follow up the question with the advice from Dr. Karen McCoy. You had stated that there is support for the homeless and the eviction situation. What department would be assisting our students regarding the job loss and the financial hardship? Will that also be the counseling center?
Yes, the counseling center is the number that we've listed as the number to call, because we wanted to create just one number. We didn't want too many numbers out there. So if you call the counseling center, they will take your information and decide who's going to contact you and gather whatever information they need from you to assist you with all of those services. And as Dr. Barbados mentioned earlier, we do have a student assistance fund. And so students who are in need of maybe paying their rent or light bill, we often have those issues, and they don't have a way to meet that need. Our counseling center process those checks and get them out to the vendors to make sure that those bills are paid for students.
Thank you very much, Dr. Karen. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Next topic we want to go ahead and tackle is advising and registration. We understand that the university staff are in the process of weathering this pandemic just as much as we are, and it has not been easy. Spring registration is now here. Some of these issues brought up to our attention were the difficulty of reaching some of the staff, long waits to speak even virtually, lack of response by email or phone, or simply the advisors being completely overbooked. So what is being done to ease the load from the staff and help students solve their advising issues before spring semester starts?
So this is something that Peter, Dr. Barbados should respond to, but I can't tell you how helpful it is for us to have this conversation. Yes. Because again, we don't know unless you talk to us. So thank you. And I know we did the survey, and so we had some inkling, but the more we share information like this, the better we can be, and the more we can adapt to serve you better. So I'm sorry, Peter.
No, you're great. Exactly right. And I appreciate the feedback that the students are giving us, because we certainly want to do a better job. This has been just as the faculty have encountered some challenges, so we on the student support services side. We've probably been through 3 different technologies to figure out what's the best for students. We now have the online. I mean, we start with bookings or first there was an email appointments, and then we went to bookings, and now we're in the Who's Next software to try to create these virtual lobbies. So this is a conversation that I'm going to share with Kathy Karen McCoy, because we're going to respond. We're going to probably tag team on this answer. There's a lot that we're doing to try to make this better. So I'll give you an example. We have advisors on all of our 5 campuses. The campuses on the west do not have as many students as the coastal campuses. And so what we've done is we've actually come together as one unit as compared to being a Boca or Belglade or Locke's campus advisor, and we're serving students virtually and within a pathway. So now what I'm doing is that those pathways and numbers have gotten, those caseloads numbers have gotten smaller, where it's added to the advisors out west and decrease the number of students for the pathway for the students here on the east side on the coastal campuses. So that's made it a little bit easier. I also sent out an email maybe a month and a half ago asking students if they knew who their advisor was, because I wanted to make sure that that relationship was clean and there was an awareness. Because that's one of the complaints that I got, where the student said, I don't know who my advisor is. And so we have to do a better job with that. And again, I'm very open to you guys telling me what's the best way to communicate. I mean, we try texting, we do some rave testing, obviously email. I'm kind of email happy, so I send those out. But I want to do a better job to make sure that students know. So we're at orientation, we're going to make sure that that's something that's very clear, that students know exactly who they have. Who they're supposed to work with. I've asked the advisors to do the degree audits to show students what classes they've taken and what they still need to complete in order to earn their degree. So this way that information's out there, because that's usually why a student comes to see an advisor, is to choose their next semester classes and to do more of a year-long or two-year plan as compared to just looking at it from one term to the next. So this way you have exactly what is it that you need to take sequentially. We should only be seeing new students and students who have changed their major. So if we set you straight, early on in your academic career, then you should be able to use that plan accordingly and be able to pick your classes, or at least your faculty from there, because we don't do the times and the teachers. And so the struggle that we have that's real, because I had a conversation with the deans last week, is when do we turn off appointments and when do we turn on the walk-in? You remember that when you would drop in and see an advisor without an appointment, and as we get closer to the start of the semester, it's always a difficult time or a difficult signs to manage to say, okay, well, this is the perfect date to do that. So what we decided was we were going to extend the bookings, the appointments through the second week of December, and then start the walk-ins for the majority of students after that, the third week of December through January. So students should be able to find an appointment with their advisor. It might not be tomorrow, but it should be within the next couple of weeks that they can go in and they can seek advisement from their advisor. Again, this is another area where if you're finding that you're having a difficult time, you got to let us know. Please let the assistant dean or the dean of students know for that campus, and so we can facilitate that. If you're sending text messages or emails to your advisor and she or he are not answering, I need to know that. I need to know who's not doing what they're supposed to, so we can get the support that you need in order for you to finish your program of study. Kathy, is there something you want to add?
No, Dr. Barbados, I think you've been very thorough in explaining all the ways that we have come up with to reach out to students and to engage with them before advising and during advising. What I'd like to ask, though, did we miss anything, Michelle? What are you hearing that perhaps, is there something we could do a better job at in being, in getting to you faster? What do you think we might have missed in this process? I'd love to hear that from you, because I think we've come up with, ways on our side, but, I don't know what else we might have missed.
A suggestion actually suggested by a student in one of the comments that came to my email was if there was a way to just keep almost something like a Zoom room or something open where, just like you guys had walk-ins before, do that as a walk-in. Is there a software to do that with? So that was suggested by a student. Also, doing a check-in where they schedule something even a semester out, or since they're searching over and over that they're seeing, and they build a relationship, put it on the calendar ahead of time, and maybe remind the student like 2 weeks before, like, hey, is this appointment still good for you? So I know that we have those repeat advising clients or that have built a relationship with their advisor. Maybe doing that degree audit ahead of time and emailing the student saying, hey, just to let you know, this is your next status. How is the semester going? So I think what our students are asking is to build a rapport. a rapport with them and a relationship with them, and not let them feel like they're just another number that was on the screen outside, and actually feeling and being and building that relationship. So
Thank you, Michelle. Those are excellent and very feasible suggestions that we can actually implement as early as tomorrow. Today's what, Monday? Yeah, so as early as tomorrow, because we have Zoom is one of our platforms here at the college. We can definitely build some Zoom rooms that will work with our other virtual platforms as well. So that's very feasible, and I love that those suggestions are definitely things we can implement. So thank you.
thank you.
The other thing
I
that I would
appreciate
mention, it goes back, I'm sorry, Michelle, it goes back to what we said about financial aid. I want my advisor to have a relationship with their respective advisee. I think it's important for us to develop as many connections as possible with our students, and for you to feel comfortable and to almost, I call it like the concierge service, that if you go to a hotel and there's a concierge that kind of can answer your questions, whether it's what restaurant should I pick to, what show should I go see or whatever. I mean, just, I think that should be your first point of contact, that they can help you navigate the puzzle sometimes that higher ed can be. But I want the relationship to be two-way. I don't want it to be just the one way where the student or the faculty member has to contact, the student. I want you to reach out too, and reach out also when it's not crazy busy. So what I find is that I have a lot of students, and this has always been the case in my 32-year career, that students wait until the week before classes start or the week of drop an ad, and that's crazy time. So what I would say is, if you really want to know more about, well, is this a feasible major? What kind of jobs can I get in this major? Or even what classes should I take next semester? Come in September, come in. So now we're going to start registration. So the 3rd, 4th week of January and month of February, I'm not saying it's dead, but it's not as busy. And that's when people can really spend more time with you. Now, I'm hoping that we'll be on our side, we'll be a little bit more proactive, as you said, great suggestion, where it automates the reminders, like I need to call Raphael today, or I need to call Michelle tomorrow, just to kind of serve as triggers. But again, that relationship's got to be two ways for it to be a healthy one.
Thank you, Dr. Barbados. And you actually have led into the next question. Something
Good.
that our students are seeing is career services. It's a big, big plus in our college, but we have hundreds of students that are graduating at the end of the semester who are facing kind of the weird and staggering unemployment rates due to COVID-19. It's a completely different world than what we were used to at the end of last year. And we are happy to be part of the college that is the 2nd largest employer in Palm Beach County. But even with that, we're sad to report that even the college has faced some hardship through this transition, including furloughs. So some of our concerns as students is, where have we received help with? Are there going to be engaging future employers? How are they going to do that virtually? How is the college assisting students for post-graduation employment? And many students are facing limited or outdated mentorships and minimal internships. And how is the college planning to tackle these issues? And are the deans or the heads of the department involved in getting those services out to the students as well?
So if I can start, and I know that we have someone from our Career Center on the call as well. So first, let me say to you that we're very, very interesting institutions when you look at the breakdown of why students come to us and kind of the different types of credentials that we're seeking. So a large portion of our students still come to us because they want to earn an AA and either transfer to our program, to our bachelor's program, or transfer to a sister university bachelor's program. And so I'm hoping that we will continue to provide the type of academic advising that will prepare students for that transition, because that meets the needs of so many of our students. And then I'd say to you that we also have students who are in AS programs who are looking to have a shorter term academic experience and go right into the field of work. And what I've found is that in many of our AS programs, it really is the professors as well as the business advisory groups that we source for opportunities for those students. So that is that if you actually are in our engineering program, because of the relationship that we have with Pratt Whitney or Sikorsky, we're hoping that those conversations are starting soon and that you're working with your faculty members to address that. And then on top of that, we do have these services that are available to our students, to our career services department, and other partnerships that we might have with organizations like CareerSource. So I do want you to know that, you know, we do try to tailor to meet the needs of our students, because ultimately I want you to earn a credential and make that next step that you've determined for your life. And so that's how I want for you to be mindful of the fact that so many of our students are looking for transfer opportunities. We're hoping that they're considering a college, you know, as they look for bachelor's programs, but also other institutions. But David, I think you're on the call. I don't know, Pete, who exactly may be here from Career Services that may tell them about additional opportunities that we may have to help them assist with employment.
Sure. Hi, President Parker. And hello, everybody. My name is David Jenks. I'm the Career Center Manager at the Palm Beach Gardens campus. And yeah, I'd be happy to speak to the students' questions about the Career Center in general. I think what President Parker just said was pretty appropriate. I think our goal is to meet students wherever they are. And some students, you know, are looking for a job directly after graduation and want to enlist the help of the Career Center in doing job searches and resume writing and such. We do have plenty of mentorships. I don't know if the students are aware of the professional mentor database that the college has, but we have over 170 professionals who have from all different professions who have volunteered to talk to students about their jobs. In addition to that, if a student can't find a mentor through the mentor database, the Career Center can proactively help a student search for a mentor in a number of different ways, whether that be through LinkedIn or professional associations, or helping the student locate potential contacts. Internships are posted regularly on our Handshake system. That's a job posting system that all students and recent graduates have access to. And we do have a number of internships. We approve them every day. So if a student is finding the internships they want on Handshake, that's great. If they're not, they can come to the Career Center, and we're more than happy to customize their internship search according to their unique circumstances. And just in terms of graduation employment, I'm glad that question was asked. We're actually conducting a program in December geared specifically for, I don't know what that noise is, but hopefully it goes away. We are doing a program specifically towards graduating students, helping them with navigating LinkedIn and professional networking to stay in touch with students as an alumni and to be able to make contact with alumni. We're also going to be doing professionalism and transition to the workplace workshops. So we are addressing some of those questions that you'd mentioned. The last thing I'll say is that we have a very experienced and talented staff. And just want you to know that we've been meeting with lots and lots of students virtually, college-wide. So similar to the other campuses or academic advising, our services are not necessarily campus specific right now. So please feel free if you're an SGA or if you deal with other students that have a need for career services, put them in touch with us. We're taking virtual appointments and we've been quite busy. And in addition to that, just want you to know that we're also doing a number of specialized workshops and panels. We've had a number of employer panels the last couple of months. We did a virtual interview panel, all of which engage the local employer community, as well as we did our first virtual career fair in October and plan to do another one in the spring. So we do have a pretty robust programming schedule. And so I would encourage students to take advantage of the Career Center. We're here for you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jenks. I also wanted to mention that some of the concerns of our students is that, yes, that the mentorship list is up there, but when they have called and dialed in to those mentors, some of those mentors have not been active for the last 2.5 years. So the updated list may be a problem, and that's where if they keep going down the list and seeing all these mentors that are not active, it gets them really scared about the future, and how things could turn out. That was something that was addressed in one of our concerns.
Well, your point's well taken. We'll be sure to, and we do update that database every year. So there might have been some people that have slipped through the cracks, but that's obviously not ideal. And we'll see what we can do to remedy that. That's good feedback. We also want to know the names of those people. So please, if a student contacts a mentor and doesn't get a response or it's out of date, please let us know. But we do try to update this on an annual basis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jax. I appreciate it. And then before we jump into our open chat forum, we want to thank our president and our panel for taking on the hard-hitting questions and concerns of our student body. We know that it's been a very challenging time, and we want to commend our faculty and staff for going above and beyond to make sure our students are safe. So now we want to flip the role on you. You have heard our very hard criticism today and want to hear from you. How can we, as the Student Government Association and the student body, help you ease the load to better the experience, not only for the students, but for you as staff and faculty? So we asked the question, what can we do for you?
So I'd like to start because as you were talking, I thought about the number of times even in this conversation, we talked, we said, you guys had these problems. And we said, well, if you would just ask this person, or just like, for instance, David said, well, if you would just let us know whose mentor or which mentors are no longer active, and then we can make the change. What can you do to produce a greater environment to encourage students to reach out when they're having issues versus just saying, oh, that's okay. Like, for instance, I would think that automatically if my professor, if I was concerned about my lab experience, or I was concerned about, my professor just kind of logging us in for 5 minutes, that I would automatically go ahead and ask the question. But is there something that we can do different to foster an environment that encourages students to speak up when they feel that they are not receiving what they should need? Or it's so interesting, Kathy. I wondered even like how many of you even know what an ombudsman is? And that, Kathy is there to help. I mean, so that was another thing. So I'm just kind of interested in suggestions you guys can give us.
Well, one concern that was here in the chat is that I think some of the students can be intimidated, or they fear the retribution through either their grades or through the services that may actually not keep them from coming to you. So that was one comment that was made actually in our chat privately. Another thing also is some of them are being bombarded every day with emails from our classes. Sometimes surveys slip through the cracks. So I may not always see the survey, and by the time that I see it, it's already over. We understand that some of our students are being bombarded technological wise, but is there a way, maybe as part of SGA, that we can put together maybe a committee that addresses these issues with you and maybe meets with you? That's something that another student suggested as well. So we would love your feedback on this issue.
Kathy, what do you think?
Well, I was so glad to hear Michelle bring up the issue of retribution, because a lot of students, when I get emails from them, they're like, oh, don't tell the professor. And I have to remind them that within the profession of the ombuds, we are required to maintain confidentiality in the relationship with the student. And so it is not me on behalf of the student doing everything on the student's behalf. It's guiding them through the process of what are your options? Let's talk through what some of those options are, and empowering the student not just to feel comfortable to approach the professor, but to look at what other options exist within the college. If there's a formal process that perhaps they should be seeking to make their issues known, how do you go through that formal process? What does it look like? And get assistance in that, just to go through that process. But it's really about teaching the student how to be an advocate for themselves, and also having to remind students that we do not tolerate retaliation at the institution at all. We are supportive of our students, we're supportive of our faculty, and there are ways to resolve issues, to the benefit of both parties. And so it's just making students comfortable about that process and walking them through. I have found that to be, a lot of students, I believe, have found that to be much more comforting, to seek that as an option for help.
And I will add to, just to follow the protocols. A lot of times we just go all the way to the top, and then, sometimes the dean is going to send the student appeal. There is a process. If there is an academic dishonest appeal, there is a process. It's like, try to look to see what is the real protocol and then follow it, because if you follow those steps, you have a better chance to get a positive outcome. And we are here to support. Obviously, we need to be fair. It's like, we need to be fair with the rest of the students. We need to be fair with the rest of the class, with the faculty, et cetera, et cetera. It's about, if we follow the protocol, we might have a better outcome.
Thank you very much for addressing all our concerns at this time, and we hope that we can work as a team to better fulfill the needs of our students. And last but not least, I would go ahead and like to open up the open chat forum. This is where we're going to be giving an option to the students to further their questions. But before I do that, I would like to pass over the mic to my SGA president, Rafael.
Thank you, Michelle. It was really in response to a lot of what Kathleen was mentioning before about even what an ombudsman is. I think it's another one of those things that, especially for first-generation college students, that they wouldn't expect that all these colleges and universities have this resource, and it's just someone to talk to. But I think what goes even further than this sometimes is the culture and power dynamics between students and their professors. I personally, not to make it personal, but personally, I've heard my own professors, say the syllabus and go through it and mention that if they have any concerns about themselves, you can please contact my associate dean. But it doesn't matter anyway. I'm still gonna have my job at the end of the day. It's those kind of comments, whether it's jokingly or not, that kind of build that power dynamic. That's you don't want to have to go through the steps of climbing ladders and following this protocol that 3 months down the line might be investigated or possibly sooner. And I think professors are getting better at it. I've been at Palm Beach State for the last couple of years now, full-time more recently, and it's something that seems to be a constant with professors and that power dynamic. And like I said, hopefully we can change the culture of that, especially since it's online, and maybe the face-to-face confrontations that existed in the past can kind of fade away a little bit. But hopefully they don't revamp themselves, and that's the hope, I believe, can come with that. And I just hope that our communicating this with you is something that you're aware of, so that you know that there is a culture of not wanting to kind of throw your professor under the bus. And it's a power dynamic, I think, that it's an ongoing thing in plenty of other colleges and universities. But hopefully with the diversity and the professionalism really at Palm Beach State College, that we can get over that hump and get students to be able to communicate so that they feel comfortable.
Yeah. One of our goals at the institution is always be looking for ways to make continuous improvement, Raphael. So, it's so great to hear you say that, sometimes we're a little bit afraid, but at the same time, as administrators, we're not there with you. We're not in every classroom with you. So whatever those experiences are, if they're affecting you negatively, we really do want to know. You know, and I apologize if I have not gotten out much information about the ombuds. It is on the website. I'll make a special effort to ensure to get that out, because you're right, first generation students are not always you know, able to get to that information and know that, you know, off the top of their heads. They need that guidance. And so I'll definitely make it a special effort, Raphael, to get that information out, and hopefully you can help maintain the, you know, the proliferation of this ombud service that is available to support every student and to empower them to work through the processes at the institution that is there to support you. There are ways that we can do this, and we can do this together. Let us know your issues. We'd be happy to address it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Rafael, you're
Dr.
absolutely
Candicor.
right. If you don't hear from an instructor for a certain time, you know, don't wait, because, you know, every time that I send an email to the instructor, they answer right away. You know, it's like, why you didn't answer the student 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, right? But again, every step starts with a direct conversation with the faculty. If an email doesn't work, try to reach over the phone. They have office hours. If that doesn't work and you don't hear from the instructor, go directly to the supervisor. If it's an adjunct, it's a department chair. You know, contact any of our offices. We provide those names. You know, or the student, we can provide the students those names, and then, you know, we follow it. But for sure, you know, and we are all busy. Faculty is busy, and we are overwhelmed with emails every day. You know, President Parker, I can't imagine how she does it. But anyway, you know, we are really extremely busy, but we are here to help you as much as possible, because faculty, staff, and administration, the only thing that we want is for our students to be successful, and for you to accomplish your goals.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Vargas. I appreciate it. I would like to go ahead and now open up our town hall to our Q&A. We have received some questions privately in the chat, and I will go ahead and start off with the first question that came from a SGA member at the Gardens campus. Can Palm Beach State College offer a permanent option for students and faculty who enjoy the virtual remote landscape, or even need to because of their autoimmune compromise? I've spoken with professors who would love to choose this moving forward. President Parker?
You know, what I'd say is that I'm not sure exactly yet how things are going to look, you know, post-pandemic, but I don't think that they'll ever be the same. Like, I don't think that we will automatically, once we have a vaccine, that we're going to automatically have as many classes as we used to have in person and so few virtual or online courses. I think that student demand is going to determine what we look like post-pandemic. And I'm so excited about that, because I think that that's who we should be. I think we should respond to the needs of our students and ensure that we're providing them the modality that makes the most sense for them. One of the best things I heard as a response to the pandemic, and this happened to be a call that Raphael was also on, was a student who is in the Glades who indicated that what's been wonderful for him is that the higher level math courses were not going to be available to him if he only relied upon what was offered on his campus, just because it isn't the level of demand. But because because now the whole college was opened up to him, he was able to take courses that he never would have been able to access as easily as he could. So what I'd say to you is that we'll be listening, we'll be watching, we'll be paying attention to student demand, and we'll be navigating and changing to move in that direction so that we can balance the needs, particularly whenever we get to a point where we won't have to deal with CDC guidelines. And so therefore, you know, it won't be that the size of our classrooms is limiting the things that we can do.
Okay. Another question that we got from some members of some clubs to the ICC meeting is how graduation will be handled for the fall semester. We really haven't heard anything at this time.
Peter, you got that one?
I can, for sure. So we are actually meeting tomorrow to finalize the plans, but you know, we had done a survey of both fall graduates as well as summer and last spring. to see if they would be interested. And there was still some concern. We didn't get the response that we needed. We these 400 people if we were to rent a facility off campus. We were looking at the ballparks of Palm Beach, the ballpark of Palm Beaches as a possible venue. But as you would suspect, guys, it's very expensive, and we really want to make sure that it's a program where people feel comfortable to come out. And so we didn't want to spend the money and then find that the students wouldn't come. But we learned of a college of ours that actually did something a little bit different. And this is what we're planning to do. So on Saturday, December 19th, here at the Lake Worth campus, I still don't know if we're going to do it at other campuses, but I know for certain it will be here at the Duncan. We will invite graduates with their family and friends to come at different appointed times to do a photo op with President Parker. We plan to have like a video. So let's say we're going to let 5 families in at 2 o'clock, and then another 5 families would come at 2:20, and they would take a picture with Palmer, our mascot, as well as President Parker. We plan to have a tent outside with some light refreshments, have a DJ or some music out there, and it's just an opportunity for us to call your name. And the other part that I really liked about it was the fact your friends and your family would be able to walk across the stage with you, since oftentimes these journeys are not done by ourselves. This is done in conjunction with our support group. And for many of us, those of us who are first generation, not only high school grads, but college grads, that this would allow our families to walk across the stage with us. And for them, that would be a first. So that's the plan. I'll have more details later. I think it's my understanding that a survey went out today for those who potentially could graduate to see who would come, because we want to make sure that we can create those appointed times. So we need an RSVP list. My goal is that we will have a program outside for May. At that point, we'll have almost a year and a half of graduates that could actually participate in a program. And I'm hoping that by that point, we will have overcome the big slump of this pandemic, and we will be able to do some things in a larger group. President Parker, did I miss anything?
No, Pete, I don't know if I'm on. Yeah, no, that's pretty much what we're looking to do. We think that some type of in-person celebration is appropriate, and we thought that we could do that safely. And what's interesting is that when we talked to our sister institution about the way that the one thing that the students like is that they didn't have to sit through all the speeches. So we figured that we can celebrate students, we can confer their degrees, we can have them and their families join in the celebration and take pictures with diplomas, and give them a chance to actually do this versus relying upon some type of virtual engagement. And know that we think that it's so important that we celebrate successes, that we celebrate milestones, and particularly during 2020, when everything has been so hard. It's so important that we come together and say, gosh, you've reached a very important goal in your life, and you take a minute to, exhale and celebrate the accomplishment. So while this will look different, we still think that this is a great way for us to do it, and we're hoping that students, no matter what the number is, will be there to participate with the students and cheer them and their families on, and know that we're continuing to think of different ways to do this outside the box. We thought that the ballpark of the Palm Beaches would have been great, but we just didn't have as many students who were comfortable with it as we had hoped. So as we hoped would be. So this is the next best thing to again recognize this wonderful accomplishment and celebrate the lives of our students and their families.
Thank you, President Parker, and thank you, Dr. Verbedes. We appreciate all the information that we have received today. We're pulling up on the end of our time. It's now 4:29. So last but not least, I wanted to go ahead and actually say thank you. We want to say thank you for all our beautiful panelists for being here, for President Parker for being here, for all the staff that is here, anybody that has been involved. But first and foremost, we would like to invite the student body to be a little bit more involved. We heard today that the staff and the team that we had as panelists needs to hear from you as well. remember, advocating for what you need or believe in is crucial. And if you don't ask for it, people will assume you don't need it. So we want to make sure that our student body is being heard. But last but not least, thank you very much, President Parker, and thank you very much for all our amazing panelists and SGA for being here. Any questions that we got in the chat that were not answered will definitely be forwarded to the panel and to President Parker's office. So we'll definitely try our best to get you the answer that you need. Thank you very much for everybody's participation. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And if you are interested, please participate in our SGA events, such as our board meetings or even our Senate meetings. Remember, that is definitely a way for your voice to be heard. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great holiday. Happy finals. And Dr. Barbados did ask if we're prepared for finals. I am personally going to say no, but I don't know how all my other peers feel. But thank you very much, and good luck with finals, and have a happy holiday, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much,
All
everyone.
right, thank you.
Great meeting. Thanks.
Thank you for all your time, everybody. Thank you.
Great job, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.